Hi, and welcome to The Drive, CBSNews.com's show where we talk to you about the state of the fight for the Republican presidential nomination. I'm senior political reporter Brian Montopoli, here to talk to you about everything that went on this week. So let's get started with Rick Perry, the Texas governor. Now, Perry's somebody who's not yet in the race, but he's expected to enter the race. He had a big meeting this week with a bunch of his donors. They emerged from the meeting and they said, we think he's going to run. There's a lot of enthusiasm about Perry, and the reason is this. The field has sort of an establishment frontrunner in the form of Mitt Romney, and it has sort of an insurgent Tea Party social conservative candidate in the form of Michelle Bachmann. But there's nobody out there who's seen as someone who's able to unite these two sides. That's what Perry is. He's somebody who social conservatives like, he's somebody who the Tea Party likes, and he's somebody who the establishment can get behind. He's a good fundraiser, he's got all sorts of contacts in D.C., and so he's seen as somebody who's a real threat to the nomination. Like I said, he's yet to enter the race, but we expect him to, and when he does, look for things to really be shaken up. Now, from Perry, I want to move on to Michelle Bachmann, who also made a lot of news this week. Not the kind of news she wanted to make. Bachmann was stung by an article in the conservative Daily Caller, which said that she gets these incapacitating migraines, these stress-induced migraines that can put her basically on her back for days at a time. The suggestion in the story, which was sourced to former staffers speaking anonymously, was that she really shouldn't be president because if something happens and she has these headaches, she's not going to be able to function. Now, Bachmann hit back against that. She said, look, my doctors say I'm fine. She released a statement from her doctor. She said, this will not impact my ability to serve as commander-in-chief. And she's pushed back against the story somewhat effectively, but it's not going to go away. These questions are going to dog her throughout the campaign. Now, there's a question here about whether this hurts or helps her. On the one hand, of course, it hurts her if she's seen as not able to function, but on the other hand, there was a backlash to this. Some people thought it was sexist because migraines are something that disproportionately affect women. There's a sympathy question for her here, and I think a lot of people will say, you know what, she's been out all the time. This hasn't affected her. She's had this strong career, so why are we going to let these anonymous attacks really bring her down? So it's hard to say how this will play out, but it's something to really keep an eye on. Now I want to go and talk generally about the rest of the field. So I'm going to return to the big board right now. Now, as you might recall, we have past viewers of The Drive will remember that we have our sort of low-tech way of displaying where people stand. This is a football field, or the closest approximation that we've come up with here at CBSNews.com, going out to the 30-yard line because it's early in the race, but these candidates are all trying to get to the end zone, which is winning the nomination. You'll see at the front we have Mitt Romney right now and Rick Perry. Now I'm going to keep them there. Romney is still the front runner. Perry is right on his heels. But then let's look at this second tier. These are the people between the 10 and the 20-yard line. Now, at the bottom here we have John Huntsman, and breaking news on The Drive, we've just confirmed that John Huntsman's campaign manager has stepped down. Now, his campaign says, no big deal, this kind of thing happens all the time, but that's not a good sign early in the campaign. Huntsman's also a guy with a lot of beltway buzz, but not a lot of support in the polls. He's still at 1 or 2%, despite trying to be out there a lot. So I'm going to move Huntsman back. We had him about the 16. Huntsman is back to the 10. Bachmann, I'm going to keep where she is. I think it's hard to say how this migraine thing is going to play out. We had Palin here at the 10. Palin, with each passing day, looks less and less likely to enter the race and also looks just as polarizing as she has always been. So I'm going to move her back sort of towards the third tier here. We're going to put her about at the 5. Maybe not where you would have expected her at the beginning of this thing, but Palin's really faded. Now, in this third tier, other than Palin's here now, we have Rick Santorum, the social conservative. Going to keep him here. He's a real long shot for the nomination. We have Ron Paul, another long shot, limited appeal, although people really like him, the ones who do like him. Herman Cain, who's really come on but remains a long shot. And Tim Pawlenty. Now, Tim Pawlenty is a guy who started out towards the front of the pack but has really fallen back. He's been stung by this perception that he's too nice. He's been coming out strong lately, and I think he's been winning back some of the skeptics and some of the fundraisers who were thinking, okay, maybe this guy doesn't have what it takes. So I want to move Pawlenty forward a little bit. We're going to move him up to the second tier, right with Bachmann. And last we have Newt Gingrich, who I have in the end zone. Gingrich is running a historically terrible campaign. He's $1 million in debt. His campaign mutinied, and that's why we have him here back in the end zone on the wrong end zone. And that's where the field stands right now. I'm Brian Montopoli, CBS News. Thanks so much for being with us on The Drive, and we will see you next time.